It's good to be on with you. Look, I mean, I think there's a straight line from Trump's rhetoric in the 2016 campaign, from retweeting white genocide, which was the name of the Twitter handle, to not knowing who David Duke was, wink, wink, we know who he was, to calling for a total complete shutdown on Muslims coming to this country, which resulted in a spike in hate crimes against our country, to the date 5 years ago, the Blood and Soil March, Heather Heyer, to January 6th. And where we are today is probably in even a more dangerous predicament, because now we have white supremacy that before was on the fringes, that was David Duke type of stuff, that has been mainstreamed by Donald Trump and embraced by a huge swath of this GOP. They are openly Christian nationalists as well. You have Marjorie Taylor Greene openly, Lauren Boebert, who want to turn their view of Christianity into the law of the land. But it really is white Christian nationalism. People don't understand it's not about Christianity, it's about white power. So now we've seen it more from before it was just out in your face white supremacy to now merged with religion, which, as we've all seen with groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda, when you intertwine religion and politics, it can lead to a combustible combination. So it's very alarming what we're seeing. We're seeing a radicalization of the right, and it's continuing. And what happened with Donald Trump, the raid, you wonder if this will be another trigger point. Will we, over the weekend, next week, be talking about any kind of attacks on U.S. soil by Trump supporters?
Well, it's happening right now in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I saw that. And I know, from what I've seen, I know exactly. We don't know all the details. I was following it before. So we're waiting for a little more. It looks like that's the case. But look, we all know there'll be pockets of violence by Trump supporters. There's no doubt. They think there'll be a civil war. Not going to happen. No one wants to fund them. The oligarchs that run America don't want a civil war. They're making money. They're happy with the way things are. So they're not going to fund it on their own. But there will be pockets of violence going forward. Some will be white nationalists. Some of it will be Christian nationalists intertwined. January 6th, some of the attackers, clearly Christian nationalists, clearly anti-Semitic, white supremacists were there. And we're dealing with something very, we talked about on the show last night, Tom, something that's foreign to U.S. soil, something that we've only seen on the fringes or read about in other nations or watched on the History Channel. It's here now on our soil, and a swath of people, not a large swath, but a swath of people believe in it, and it's alarming, and we can't look away. It is very dangerous.
Yeah, this whole Christian nationalist thing is I mean, it's very old, right? But in some ways it's kind of bizarre. To the best of my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, Islam and Christianity share, the holy books, as it were. But I believe that the only white guy in the entire Bible was Pontius Pilate.
That's a good point. I haven't read every page of the Bible, but it makes sense because Jesus was obviously a brown-skinned Middle Eastern man.
Right, as were his disciples.
That. He's been rewritten, and they white-faced him. But look, Jesus, Moses, the Prophet Muhammad, all from the same area of the world, okay? All of those faiths are imported to America. If you like them, great. My faith is important to me. But this idea that somehow they made Jesus into a white American who, when he was born, he was wrapped in an American flag and driven over in a pickup truck while Toby Keith was playing. That's not how it works. Jesus is not from America. He's not from Iowa. He's from the Middle East, where my family's from. My family's from outside of Bethlehem. My family's Palestinian. So we are closer connection to Jesus than a lot of these Christian nationalists.
Yeah, Pontius Pilate came from Italy. I mean, he was, right? Yeah, he was the Roman Empire. Yeah, absolutely. And I, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's the only white guy in the whole Bible. And,
I'll go with you on that one.
Yeah. So anyway, I just, I find it distressing, frankly. How is and I realize sometimes this is a stupid or even a loaded question to ask anybody to speak on behalf of a group that they're a member of. But what's your sense of how I know I have a number of good Jewish friends, who some of them who are very politically active, and they're very concerned. I mean, there's a kind of a circling of the wagons going on in parts of the Jewish community, particularly after several high-profile murders in synagogues and things. The anti-Semitism is just on steroids. Obviously, in the black community, people are very concerned about the anti-black violence. The Hispanic community, parts of the Hispanic community since Trump first started his campaign in 2015, have been concerned about that. Where is the Muslim community in the United States at in terms of feeling the pressure and I mean, it almost seems like if you just watch the media that we've moved on from hating on Muslims. That was George Bush's thing,
That was Donald Trump took it to new levels.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But one thing, by the way, the magistrate who signed off on the search warrant in Florida is Jewish, and I was sharing articles today from The Forward and from Jewish Telegraph. He has been subjected to vile anti-Semitic death threats. And the GOP leadership is silent by design. And they're silent because they either tolerate it or they support violence to help them achieve political ends, just like all fascists do. That's a trademark move of fascists, and it's remarkable. Look, for the Muslim community, we just went through a very challenging time in New Mexico, Albuquerque. 4 Muslims, 3 killed in the last 2 weeks, and a 4th a little before that. And, grave concerns in our community. Was there a serial killer out there killing Muslims? And we, of course, thought maybe it's a white supremacist. Now, the person arrested turned out to be Muslim, and it shocked our community to no end. And some of the reporting is that it's interpersonal. Another is that it had to do with the difference between a sect that's Sunni and Shia, but that really doesn't seem to make that much sense because the imam from the mosque said one of the people he killed, the guy was Sunni, was another Sunni person.
Right.
But the response was the biggest Muslim groups had a big press conference in D.C. on Tuesday with Sunni and Shia Islamic leaders standing together saying we have to be united. Mm-hmm. And I have an article for the MSNBC that just got published an hour ago on this very point, that we're going into an election cycle where Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert have spewed anti-Muslim bigotry. If Trump runs again in 2024, he will go back. That was part of his playbook. Anti-Muslim hate works well for his base. That we cannot be divided as a community in any way. And we're really not in America. Sunni and Shia, we don't even talk about who's Sunni and who's Shia. We're a teeny community. We're 1% of the population. But the point is we have to be united. We're going to go into a very difficult time. And every presidential election year in the recent years, there's been a spike in hate crimes against Muslims. We've seen it every single time since post 9/11 world. So we know it's going to happen again. So, we are more active in politics than we ever have been. And I think it was a response to Donald Trump's bigotry. He animated Muslims to get involved, to run for office. We have more elected officials who are Muslims now than at any time in my life, from Board of Education to the Attorney General of Minnesota, Keith Ellison, to 3 members of Congress and more. The Democratic state chair in Pennsylvania is a Muslim. We've never had this before. And it's about our communities more active and a lot more alliances we built with other communities. We stand together with other minority communities who are attacked. And we hope and kind, of course, they'll stand with us, because it's not easy. We're in a lull right now, Tom. As I tell people in my community, they're coming back for us, and they do. Just like they come back for the Jewish community. Yep. They cycle in and cycle out. We are in a lull for our community. They will be back in 2024.
Yeah, I have no doubt. Dean, we're about 2 minutes from a hard break here. I had a caller question with a question earlier, and I didn't know the answer. It's kind of a legal question. Alex Jones's lawyer apparently blew it by giving away the contents of his cell phone and not protecting that. Does that give Alex Jones a defense of inappropriate representation?
Ineffective counsel, which is guaranteed by the 6th Amendment, that's for criminal trials. In civil trials, the remedy is Alex Jones sues his lawyer to reimburse him for all the damages assessed against him. If he can make that case. He's got to make that case, though, because this is just civil. There's no loss of liberty. So say Alex Jones ultimately has to pay a few $1 million in this. He would sue his lawyer. But that was not the only reason Alex Jones lost. So if Jones succeeds on illegal malpractice claims, it happens all the time. If he succeeds, there'll be an allocation of damages based on what percentage the judge or jury thinks the lawyer is responsible for. So Alex Jones might get some of his judgment paid for by his lawyer, or damages just independent of that, which could include an understanding that you did something bad, here are the damages, here's how I suffered, you have to reimburse me.
But it's not going to wipe out his conviction like it would if it was a criminal conviction.
It's a civil case, right? If it was criminal, they would have a constitutional argument for an appeal, ineffective counsel, and if a court were to say yes, then there'd be a new trial. But that's only for criminal. This is civil. The remedy is you sue your lawyer to get reimbursed for the damages against you.
There you go. Okay, well, I told the caller, you need to call Dean Obeidallah and ask him because he's a lawyer.
I know.
So,
Some of the things thanks, Tom. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks a lot, Dean. It's always great talking with you. Check out Dean's show right here on SiriusXM Progress, 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern, channel 127, and DinaRadio.com is his website. Thank you, Dean. We'll be right back.